The final bell rang, and the schoolyard spilled into its usual after-class buzz. Groups of friends laughing, backpacks swinging, the soft glow of the late afternoon sun painting long shadows across the ground. 13-year-old Aisha walked toward the gate with her notebooks pressed against her chest, thinking about nothing more dramatic than homework and what her mom might have cooked for lunch. But then she saw him. The tiny golden-brown puppy sat right beside the school gate, calm, still, and oddly focused. His floppy ears twitched when he saw her, and the moment their eyes met, he stood up, tail wagging slowly, almost thoughtfully. Aisha blinked. She'd never seen him before. She wasn't even a dog person. Yet the puppy waited, staring at her like he'd been expecting her all along. When she stepped closer, he trotted forward, only to freeze, posture stiffening. He let out a small, sharp bark. Then another. Students walked past him, but he didn't react to anyone except her. He circled her once, then planted himself between her and the road, whining softly, almost pleading. Aisha's heart gave a confused flutter. Why is he acting like this? She glanced around. Nothing looked unusual. No danger. No reason. But the puppy wouldn't move, eyes locked on something she couldn't yet see, body trembling with instinct she didn't understand. And this wasn't a one-time thing, because the next day he was waiting again. And again. And that's when Aisha finally saw the pattern. Moments later, everything changed. Before we continue, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more heart-touching dog stories. And tell me, where are you watching from? The last bell of the afternoon drifted across the school courtyard, a soft metallic ring that blended into the gentle hum of students spilling out of classrooms. Backpacks zipped. Shoes scuffed the ground. Friends called out to each other as they streamed toward the front gate. It was an ordinary day. Warm. Bright. A calm breeze sweeping through the trees that lined the school wall. Aisha stepped into the sunlight and blinked. The shade behind her classroom always felt cooler, but once she reached the open gate, the late afternoon heat wrapped around her like a blanket. She adjusted her backpack strap. Another normal day. Or so it seemed. She moved with the usual rhythm, slow, tired steps, the weight of homework on her mind. The simple comfort of knowing her mom would be waiting at home. The predictable routine she'd walked through hundreds of times. Then she saw him. A tiny puppy sat at the edge of the school gate. Golden brown. Soft fur ruffled slightly by the wind. Round, quiet eyes watching the crowd. He wasn't playing. He wasn't wandering. He wasn't begging for food. He was simply waiting. Aisha slowed her steps without meaning to. The puppy tilted his head. Just a small motion. Just enough to show he'd noticed her. Students passed him without a second glance. Some stepped around him. Others didn't even seem to see him. But his eyes stayed fixed on one person. Her. Aisha frowned softly. She didn't recognize him. She wasn't really a dog person. Her family didn't keep pets, and dogs usually made her a little nervous. Still, there was something gentle about this one. He stood up on unsteady legs. A tiny stretch. A quiet yawn. Then he took a few steps toward her. Not running. Not jumping. Just a careful, deliberate approach. Aisha looked around, wondering if he belonged to someone. But the street was empty except for the usual flow of students and the distant sound of a motorbike starting somewhere down the lane. She took another step forward. The puppy froze. His ears lifted. His tail went stiff. His little body leaned forward, alert, focused. Aisha paused in the exact same moment. Something in the air shifted. She couldn't explain it, but she felt it. The puppy gave a soft bark. Just one. Sharp. Quick. Like a warning she wasn't meant to ignore. Aisha blinked, startled. She looked to her left, where the road opened into the late afternoon traffic. Everything looked normal. A bicycle rolled past. A rickshaw slowed for students. A pair of younger boys chased each other across the footpath. Nothing unusual. She stepped forward anyway. The puppy moved instantly. He planted himself in front of her shoes. Tiny legs spread, chest out, tail low. Not aggressive. Not fearful. Just determined. Aisha let out a quiet breath. What are you doing? she whispered. The puppy didn't flinch at her voice. He didn't back away. He didn't wag his tail now. He simply stood there blocking her path, staring up at her with those deep, waiting eyes. She tried to step right. He moved right. She stepped left. He stepped left. It was coordinated, purposeful, almost like he was guiding her. Or stopping her. A soft uneasiness touched her chest. Why me? Why today? She crouched slightly, not fully, just enough to see him better. Up close she could see how small he really was. Barely old enough to be away from his mother. His ears still too big for his head. His paws clumsy and oversized. And yet, those eyes, alert, reading her, reading the road. The wind shifted again. And in that tiny pause the first clue appeared. A motorcycle zipped past the gate fast. Too fast. The sudden rush of air made her hair lift off her shoulders. The sound hit her a second later, loud and sharp, cutting through the quiet routine. If she had stepped out just a little earlier. She swallowed. The puppy's body relaxed a little. Just a little. His tail lifted an inch. Not wagging, just easing. He looked up at her again. A soft whine slipped from his throat. Not sad. Not scared. Communicating. Aisha let her breath out slowly. Okay, she murmured. I'm going. I'm going. But she didn't take her usual path. Somehow, without fully understanding why, she shifted to the other side. Away from the main road, onto the footpath that curved behind the snack shop. The puppy trotted ahead of her. Just a few steps. Glancing back every few seconds, making sure she followed. And strangely, she did. She walked behind him as if it were normal. As if this tiny stranger had every right to lead her home. They reached the corner. The snack shop smell drifted out, samosas, dusty biscuit packets, the faint sweetness of melted chocolate from the freezer glass. Aisha usually stopped here to buy a juice box. But today she didn't feel like stopping. The puppy paused again. Looked at her. Waited. She felt a small tug inside her chest. Like something quiet had begun. Something she didn't yet understand. When she finally reached the lane that led to her house, the puppy stopped completely. He sat down just before the turn. Aisha hesitated. Are you coming? She asked softly. He didn't move. He simply watched her go, ears forward, tail still. As if checking. As if confirming she made it safe. Only when she reached the gate of her house did he turn around and pad back toward the school. She watched him disappear. A strange warmth settled inside her. She didn't know him. He didn't know her. But something in his behavior felt intentional. Protective. Purposeful. She shook her head, trying to brush it off. Just a puppy. Just a coincidence. Just a weird moment after school. But the next afternoon, when she stepped out through the same gate, he was waiting again. Same spot. Same posture. Same quiet awareness. And that was the moment Aisha realized. This wasn't random. Not at all. Something was happening. Something she couldn't explain yet. Something the puppy already understood. The next afternoon felt just as ordinary as the one before. Warm sunlight. Dust lifting softly with each footstep. The school courtyard humming with the usual mix of chatter and leftover energy from the final class. Aisha walked with her friends toward the gate, half listening to their jokes, half lost in thoughts about homework. Everything felt familiar. But the moment she stepped through the gate, her breath caught. He was there. The same puppy. The same spot. Sitting perfectly still beside the metal gatepost. His ears lifted the instant he saw her. Not for anyone else. Just her. Aisha slowed. Her friends kept walking, talking, unaware of the small shift happening behind them. The puppy stood up. Not rushing. Not excited. Just ready. Aisha felt a quiet ripple run through her chest. He's here again, she whispered under her breath. She took a few steps closer. The puppy's tail moved, a slow, soft sway. Not playful. Not frantic. Just a subtle recognition, like he was acknowledging her arrival. Aisha looked around again. Still no owner. Still no collar. Still no sign he belonged to anyone. Her friends noticed her lagging behind. "You coming?" one of them called. "Yeah, go ahead. I'll catch up," Aisha replied. They shrugged and walked off. The puppy waited until they were gone. Then he took a step forward. A small one. Light paws tapping the ground with intention. Aisha knelt down just a little. Still unsure, still cautious. "Did you follow me yesterday?" she asked softly. He didn't answer, of course. But the way he looked at her, head slightly tilted, eyes focused, made it feel like he understood the question. A quiet breeze passed between them. After a few seconds, the puppy turned his head toward the road. Ears stiffening. Body straightening. Tail freezing midsway. Aisha followed his gaze but saw nothing alarming. Just the usual after-school traffic, students crossing, a few cars, a slow-moving delivery truck. Still, the puppy didn't relax. He took one step toward the curb, then back again. Then he looked up at her as if urging her to wait. Not yet. Not now. And Aisha felt it, that same quiet instinct she felt yesterday. The sense that this tiny creature knew something she didn't, saw something she couldn't. She hesitated. The puppy's posture tightened further. A gentle whine rose in his throat, soft, meaningful. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll wait." She stepped back from the road. Just a moment later, a motorcycle shot past. Fast. Way too fast for a school zone. The sound ripped through the air. Aisha flinched. If she had stepped onto the road even 2 seconds earlier, her heart thudded. The puppy turned his head up toward her. And there it was again. That subtle shift in his body. His tail lowered, but not in fear. More like relief. Like he'd been bracing for something. And she suddenly understood the timing. Yesterday. The same thing. Another motorcycle. Another moment of danger she didn't see until it had already passed. Her breath came slower now. "Did you know?" she whispered. The puppy blinked once. Then twice. His ears lowered gently. A calmness settled over her shoulders. He wasn't here by accident. She took a step forward to see if he would move. He did, walking slightly ahead, guiding the direction, glancing back every few seconds to check her pace. His steps were small, careful, determined. Aisha followed without thinking. Along the narrow sidewalk. Past the food stall. Right up to the corner where the street forked into 2 paths, the busy road, and the quieter one behind the snack shop. He nudged her leg lightly toward the quiet lane. Aisha paused. A car honked loudly on the main road. She made her choice without questioning it. "Okay. This way." The puppy walked ahead again. Just a few feet. But constantly aware. Constantly checking. Constantly adjusting his pace to match hers. Students behind her ran past shouting and laughing. But he didn't react to any of them. His focus stayed on one person only. Her. When they reached the curve near the snack shop, the air warmed with the scent of fried dough and spices. The sound of a fan buzzed above the doorway. The shopkeeper called out prices to a group of kids gathered near the window. Life went on around them. Yet the puppy's attention never drifted. Aisha stopped near the corner where the lane turned toward her house. The puppy stopped too. He sat down again. Same spot as yesterday. Almost the exact same distance from her street. As if he knew the boundary. As if he knew this was where his responsibility ended. Aisha slowly crouched this time, still careful but less hesitant. "You really waited for me?" she said softly. His tail tapped the ground once. Then twice. Not excited. Not frantic. Just confirming. Aisha's chest warmed. She reached out a hand halfway, just enough so he could choose whether to approach. He leaned forward, nose brushing her fingers. Soft. Gentle. Aisha held her breath. She didn't know much about dogs, but she recognized trust when she felt it. "You're not just wandering around, are you?" she whispered. "You're following me." The puppy let out a small puff of breath, almost like a sigh. Then he stepped back, turned around, and began walking away. Toward the school. Aisha remained still, watching him. His small body. His careful steps. His quiet determination. It didn't feel random anymore. Not a coincidence. Not a stray just looking for food. There was a rhythm to it. A pattern. A reason she hadn't uncovered yet. A reason the puppy seemed to know long before she did. As he disappeared around the corner, Aisha felt a gentle shiver move down her spine. Something was happening. And the puppy always arrived at the right moment. Always waited. Always watched. Always protected. She stood up slowly, and for the first time she didn't just feel curious. She felt connected. Something unspoken had begun between them, and she didn't know why. But deep inside she sensed the truth. This wasn't the last day he'd be waiting. Not even close. The third afternoon arrived with a soft gray sky hanging low over the school. A quiet, heavy kind of air. Clouds drifting lazily. Light dimmed just enough to soften everything around the courtyard. Aisha stepped out of her last class, hugging her books close. It felt like a slower day. Nothing dramatic, nothing unusual. But something tugged at the back of her mind. She scanned the gate before she even reached it. And there he was. The little puppy. Sitting exactly where he always sat. Facing the direction she would come from. Like he had been waiting long before she stepped outside. Aisha stopped mid-step. A warm, unexpected sense of relief washed through her chest. "You're here," she whispered. The puppy rose quickly this time. More confident, more assured. His tail lifted in a soft, gentle sway. Not playful. Just glad. Aisha walked toward him slowly. The air smelled faintly of damp earth, like the clouds were carrying leftover rain. Students brushed past her on their way home, but she barely noticed. Her eyes were on one small, waiting creature. When she reached him, he didn't rush forward. He simply stepped close enough to tap his nose lightly against her shoe. A greeting. A check-in. A "you're okay." Aisha felt her chest loosen. "Are you really here for me?" she murmured to herself. The puppy turned his head toward the road sharply. His body stiffened again. Ears pointed. Tail lowered into a straight line. Aisha followed his gaze. Nothing unusual. A quiet afternoon. A slow-moving car. A bicycle rider adjusting his backpack. A boy dragging a cricket bat across the pavement. Normal. But the puppy didn't relax. Aisha waited. 1 second. Another. Then, a rickshaw swerved too fast into the school gate area. Its front wheel skidding slightly before the driver steadied it. A few students jumped back instinctively. The puppy remained locked in that focused stance, as if he had sensed the motion before it happened. Aisha inhaled slowly. This was no coincidence. He wasn't just waiting. He wasn't just watching. He wasn't just following her out of affection. He was anticipating something. Something she couldn't see. The puppy's body softened once the danger passed. His ears relaxed. He glanced up at her, checking if she was okay. Aisha exhaled. "All right," she whispered. "Lead the way." She didn't even question it now. The puppy stepped ahead. Not far, never far. Just enough to guide her pace, matching her footsteps with quiet precision. They passed the food stalls again. Warm oil popping in pans. Children laughing with their snacks. A shopkeeper waving at familiar faces. Everything looked the same. But today, Aisha felt more alert. More aware of the quiet signals in the puppy's body. His pauses. His glances. His moments of tension. He was communicating even when he didn't make a sound. They reached the turn where the busy road split. The puppy paused longer this time. He sniffed the air. Ears perked. Head turning slowly from left to right, scanning, reading, calculating. Aisha watched him closely. "You don't want me to take the main road, do you?" she asked gently. The puppy's gaze dropped to the ground for a moment. Then he stepped decisively toward the quieter lane. Aisha followed. He walked slightly slower today, as if he wanted her close. The gray sky dimmed further, casting long shadows across the pavement. A truck rumbled in the distance. A dog barked somewhere far behind the school wall. A bicycle bell rang twice. Normal sounds, yet the puppy stayed alert, listening to every one of them. When they reached the lane toward Aisha's house, the puppy stopped in his usual place. But this time, instead of sitting immediately, he turned around and stared up at her. Longer. Deeper. Like he wanted to tell her something. Aisha crouched again, this time with no hesitation. "What are you trying to show me?" she whispered. The puppy stepped closer. His small nose brushed her knee. Then he lifted his paw barely, almost like reaching out. Aisha's breath caught. "You're protecting me," she said, voice soft. "Aren't you?" The puppy's tail made a single slow wave. Just one. But it was enough. He understood her tone. He understood her emotion. He understood her realization. She felt a lump rise in her throat. "You keep waiting every day," she murmured. "Why? Why me?" The puppy blinked at her with those warm, steady eyes. Then gently he sat. A simple, quiet answer. This is where he stayed. Where he watched. Where he chose to be. Because she was his person. Even if she didn't know why. Even if she didn't know how it began. A drizzle started, soft droplets falling from the gray sky. Aisha stood, touching her forehead lightly as the cold dots hit her skin. "You should go home," she whispered. "It's going to rain." But the puppy didn't move until she did. He waited for her to walk to her gate, watched her step safely through, checked her one last time. Only then did he turn around slowly and head back toward the school. Even through the blur of rain, Aisha could see his small body walking with purpose. Something inside her tightened. Soft, warm, uncertain, but undeniable. This wasn't random. There was a reason, and she could feel it growing stronger every day. Something unseen. Something waiting to be understood. Something the puppy sensed long before she did. And tomorrow she knew he would be there again. Aisha walked out of the school that afternoon with a strange heaviness in her chest. Ever since last night, her mind hadn't stopped circling the same thoughts. That silent walk the puppy had taken her on. That quiet street. That fenced backyard. And that unsettling feeling like a memory trying to surface. The air was cooler today. The sun dipped slowly behind a thin layer of clouds, turning everything soft and gold. And just as Aisha pushed open the steel gate, the puppy was there. Again. Sitting in the exact same spot. As if time simply paused for him. He looked at her. Stood up. And this time his whine was deeper, more urgent, almost pleading. As if saying, "Today matters, please come." Aisha adjusted her backpack. A wave of nervousness washed through her chest. But for the first time it didn't push her away. It pulled her forward. "Okay," she whispered softly. "I'm coming." The puppy turned. Slow, steady. Then walked in the same direction as yesterday, toward that quiet street. Aisha followed. Her footsteps light. Her heartbeat louder than the street noise. The puppy's tail neither high nor low, just focused. Purposeful. Like he was on a mission. And somewhere inside her, a strange awareness began to awaken. A soft tugging in her memory. Every corner they passed felt familiar. That old red mailbox. The bent street sign. The cracked piece of sidewalk. Aisha slowed down. Why do I know this place? Her chest tightened, not from fear, but from something deeper. Something she hadn't felt in years. The puppy turned the corner. Aisha followed. And then her breath caught. The same little fenced yard came into view. But this time, Aisha froze. Because lying near the driveway was a broken bicycle. Old. Rusty. Blue paint fading. Exactly like hers. Her bicycle. The one she used to ride every single day. In the house they left 5 years ago. Her voice cracked into a whisper. "My bike." She stepped forward slowly, carefully. As if the entire ground was made of memories. The chipped fence paint. The tilted third step on the porch. The orange flower pot still sitting where it always sat. It all hit her at once. This wasn't just a random yard. This was her old home. The home they left after her father's accident. The home she never returned to, because it hurt too much. Aisha stood still. Her fingers trembling around her backpack strap. Her eyes burning. The puppy walked up to her. Quietly, gently. And sat against her leg. His tiny body warm. Grounding. Comforting. Aisha knelt down, her voice shaking. Why did you bring me here? The puppy didn't answer, of course, but he let out a soft, emotional whine, then lowered his nose to the bottom of the gate, sniffing, searching, following something. That's when Aisha noticed it. A small faded blue ribbon stuck under the rusty railing. She froze. That shade, that texture, that pattern. It was the exact same ribbon her father used to tie on her backpack every first day of school. His little tradition. Aisha's breath fractured. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. The puppy let out a small bark, gentle, encouraging, like he was telling her, "Yes, you're close. Keep going." Aisha rose slowly, her heartbeat loud, her throat tight. The gate wasn't locked. She pushed it open. The hinges made the same soft creaking sound her father used to fix every Sunday morning. The moment she stepped into the yard, memories flooded her. Her father watering the plants, her art projects drying on the porch rail, her mother calling her inside for dinner, her shoes always lost on the second step. Aisha took a long, shaky breath. Everything smelled like childhood, like safety, like home. The puppy walked to the center of the yard, then sat perfectly still, facing the house, not moving. Aisha joined him slowly, her hand resting on his warm fur. "Are you trying to show me something?" Her voice barely held together. The puppy lifted his eyes toward the front window, then back at her, then the window again. A clear pattern, a silent direction. Aisha's knees weakened. "You want me to remember?" Her voice broke. "You want me to go inside?" She wiped her tears with the back of her hand, her body trembling with grief and recognition. "Is this connected to my dad? Is that why you keep waiting for me?" No bark this time. Just the puppy leaning gently against her knee, slow, comforting, certain. And in that tender moment, Aisha understood one thing clearly. This wasn't random. Not a coincidence. Not a stray puppy wandering without reason. There was a message, a pattern, connection. And inside that house, the truth waited, quietly, patiently, ready to finally change everything. Aisha stood in front of the old house, her breath soft and uneven. The puppy sat quietly beside her, his tiny body still, his eyes calm, as if he had done his part, and now it was her turn. The sky dimmed slowly. Evening light melted into a warm amber glow across the yard. Every little thing felt suspended, like the world was holding its breath. Aisha reached the front steps. Her shoes touched the familiar cracked corner of the third stair. The same spot she used to jump over because she was scared she might trip. She didn't jump this time. She placed her foot gently, letting that old memory breathe. The puppy followed quietly, his nails tapping softly on the wooden steps. Aisha approached the door. It looked exactly the same. Same faded brown paint. Same brass handle. Same small dent from when her dad accidentally hit it with groceries once and spent an hour laughing about it. Her hand hovered over the doorknob. Her fingers trembled. I haven't been back here," she whispered. "Not since everything." Her chest tightened. The puppy nudged her ankle. Just once, gentle, steady. Like a tiny heartbeat saying, "You're not alone." Aisha closed her eyes, exhaled, and turned the handle. It opened. Easily. Quietly. Almost too softly. The air inside smelled like dust mixed with something warm and familiar. Like old books, like her father's aftershave, like years trapped in silence. She stepped inside slowly. The floor creaked. Just like it used to. Just like it always did. Her eyes adjusted to the dim interior. The hallway long, still, undisturbed. The puppy stayed close to her heel, almost touching. His tail low but steady, his ears slightly forward. A posture of gentle guidance. Aisha moved further in. Each step felt like walking through her own memories. There, the corner where her dad used to sit with his coffee mug every morning. There, the mark on the wall from when she swung her backpack too hard. There, the spot where her mom had hung her fourth-grade art project because it made the hallway smile. Aisha swallowed hard, her throat thick, her chest trembling. "Why did you bring me here?" Her voice cracked. What are you trying to show me? The puppy didn't bark. He walked ahead instead, slow, soft, purposeful, toward a small room at the end of the hall. Aisha's heart thudded. Her father's study, a place she hadn't stepped into for years. The puppy stopped at the door, looked at it, then looked at her. Aisha hesitated. This room still scares me. Her fingers shook around the doorknob. Every painful memory pressed against her chest. The night her father didn't come home, the weeks after, the silence, the move. She felt the weight pressing behind her eyes. The puppy whimpered, a soft, emotional sound, and sat directly beside her foot, leaning against her leg. Aisha inhaled, then opened the door. The room was dim and untouched. Sunlight from the window fell gently across the desk, lighting up tiny dust particles floating like slow snow. Her father's books still lined the shelves, some open, some stacked. His old jacket still hung on the back of the chair. Aisha pressed a hand to her mouth. Baba! Her voice broke. She stepped inside, and the puppy followed at her heel. Her eyes scanned the room until she saw something she had never noticed before. A small wooden box lying on the desk, dark brown, edges carved. The puppy approached it instantly, nose tapping it once, then twice. Then he sat down and looked straight at her. Aisha's heart jumped. You want me to open it? The puppy gave one slow blink, calm, steady, deliberate, as if answering yes. Aisha reached for the box. Her fingers shook as she lifted the lid. Inside laid a stack of small paper notes folded neatly. Her breath caught. She recognized the handwriting instantly. Her father's. Tears spilled. She lifted the first note with trembling hands. For Aisha, in case life ever becomes heavy, remember you're never walking alone. Love, Baba. Aisha covered her mouth, her shoulders shaking. The air left her lungs in a broken sob. The puppy pressed against her leg. Warm, steady, present. She opened another note. One day you'll grow, you'll doubt yourself, and you'll feel lost. When that day comes, follow whatever finds you. It will lead you back to love. Aisha's head lowered. Her tears fell onto the small wooden box. The words sank into her chest like a missing puzzle piece finally sliding into place. Her father had left these notes. For her. For this moment. For when she felt lost. The puppy looked up at her again. Eyes warm, deep, knowing. Aisha wiped her tears with shaking hands. Is that why you found me? She whispered. To bring me back here? To bring me back to him. The puppy leaned his small forehead against her shin, softly, slowly, with a kind of tenderness that didn't need words. Aisha held the note close to her heart, and for the first time in years, she felt a quiet, gentle warmth filling her chest again. Something inside her had opened, something she had been scared to touch. And she knew this was only the beginning. There was more waiting, more truth, more healing. And the puppy wasn't done guiding her yet. The late afternoon sun stretched long shadows across the schoolyard. Emma sat on the worn wooden bench near the gate, her hands trembling slightly as she stroked the puppy's soft fur. He leaned into her touch, warm and reassuring, tail wagging slowly now, calm after the tension of earlier. The world around them felt quieter, softer. Children's laughter echoed faintly from the playground, but Emma barely noticed. She was focused entirely on the little creature at her side, the one who had sensed what she could not, who had led her through fear and uncertainty with nothing more than instinct and trust. You saved me, she whispered almost to herself. Her voice caught. I don't know how I would have, if you hadn't been here. The puppy nuzzled her hand again, ears flicking gently as if acknowledging her words. He didn't need to understand the language. He felt the emotion. Emma realized then that it wasn't just protection he offered. It was understanding, companionship, and an unwavering presence that no human could replicate entirely. She glanced at the gate. The traffic passed steadily now, the earlier chaos settling into ordinary rhythm. Emma noticed her own breathing slowing, matching the calm steadiness of her small companion. Each inhale was grounding. Each exhale carried a quiet release of lingering fear. For the first time in days, she smiled without reservation. There was no need for words between them. The bond had been forged, quietly, gently, unshakably. Later, walking home, Emma noticed the subtle signs she had missed before. The way the puppy had positioned himself near her, alert to every sound. The way he had nudged her forward when hesitation lingered. The way his eyes had tracked the unseen patterns of the world with patience and care. Every instinct, every little gesture, had been a bridge leading her to clarity, to safety, to understanding. By the time they reached her doorstep, the sky had turned a soft lavender. The world seemed larger, gentler, brighter. Not because it had changed, but because she now saw it through the eyes of trust and connection. The puppy settled at her feet, tail curling around him in a comfortable circle. Emma knelt down and whispered softly, "I think we both needed this, more than either of us realized." And in that quiet, unspoken moment, she understood that the bond they shared was no longer just protective. It was healing. A bridge of empathy and love that could carry them both through whatever came next. The sun dipped lower, painting the world in golden hues. Emma watched the puppy's ears twitch as he listened to distant sounds, calm and alert, a little guardian at her side. She knew without a doubt that their story, this bond, would last far beyond the school gate, far beyond the ordinary, into something quietly extraordinary. And as they walked inside together, hearts aligned in trust, Emma felt a profound warmth settle in her chest. The world had shifted. She wasn't alone. And she never would be, not with him by her side. The next morning, sunlight poured through the classroom windows, painting warm patterns on the floor. Emma sat at her desk, notebook open but largely ignored, eyes frequently flicking toward the gate outside. Her thoughts kept drifting to the little puppy, the one who had changed the rhythm of her days, who had quietly taught her trust, patience, and intuition. When the bell rang, signaling the start of recess, Emma hurried outside. And there he was, waiting exactly where he always did, ears perked, tail moving gently in anticipation. But today there was a calmness to him that hadn't been there before, a quiet confidence, as though he knew she understood him now completely. She approached slowly, hands out, heart steady. He wagged once, then patted to her side, brushing against her leg, eyes soft, trusting. Emma smiled. "I get it now," she whispered. "I see the pattern. I see everything." The pattern had been subtle, small, repeated behavior she had almost overlooked. How he would circle near certain spots at certain times. How his gaze would linger on faces of people passing by. How he seemed to anticipate moments before they arrived. Every instinct he had displayed had a purpose, a reason. And now, with understanding, the fear, the tension, the uncertainty, all had dissolved. As they walked along the familiar path home, Emma noticed the looks of admiration from neighbors, teachers, and friends. Some had seen the way he had acted over the past week, how he had subtly guided her, kept her safe without ever being aggressive or alarming. And though the world had barely noticed the small acts of protection, Emma felt the weight of it, the quiet, profound impact of his loyalty. They reached the corner park, the place where the morning had begun with tension, uncertainty, and the first signs of the puppy's vigilance. Emma knelt down, gathering him in her arms for a soft embrace. She could feel his steady heartbeat against hers, warm, strong, reassuring. "You're incredible," she whispered. "I don't know how I'll ever thank you." He licked her cheek gently, tail swishing, ears relaxed, the simplest acknowledgement of a bond that had grown beyond words. Emma laughed softly, tears brimming, not from sadness but from pure gratitude. For the first time she realized the depth of their connection. It wasn't just about safety or instinct or daily routines. It was about understanding each other's hearts, unspoken communication, and a shared rhythm of trust that no challenge could break. And in that quiet park, with sunlight warming the earth and the world moving around them, Emma and the little puppy understood something profound. Love and loyalty could exist without grand gestures. They could be found in small waits, gentle nudges, and the silent promise to always be there. The bond had grown unbreakable, a steady, enduring force that would guide both of them through every ordinary morning, every unexpected challenge, and every moment in between. As they walked home side by side, Emma whispered almost to herself, "We're a team, forever." And the puppy, eyes bright, ears alert, tail wagging, seemed to say without words, always. The sky was painted in soft hues of gold and pink as the sun began to set. Emma sat on the front steps of her home, the puppy curled up beside her, head resting gently on her knee. The air was calm, carrying the scent of freshly mown grass from the nearby park and faint hints of autumn leaves. Everything felt quiet, peaceful. A world paused just for them. She traced her fingers through his soft fur, remembering every step of the journey that had brought them here. The first hesitant mornings, the sudden tension, the mysterious patterns he had followed, the moments of fear, the little nudges that had guided her. Every detail now felt like part of a beautiful, unspoken conversation between them. You know, she whispered, her voice soft, almost reverent, I think you were sent to me for a reason. The puppy tilted his head, ears flicking, eyes shining with trust. He had been her guardian, her teacher, her companion, and perhaps even her guide. It wasn't just loyalty or instinct. It was something deeper, something spiritual. A quiet reminder that connection, love, and understanding could transcend words. Emma smiled, letting out a slow breath. She realized how much she had grown. Not just in trust, but in patience, in empathy, in seeing the world through another being's eyes. And the little puppy, with his gentle, knowing presence, had guided her toward that growth without ever demanding it. The streetlights flickered on, one by one, casting warm halos of light across the pavement. Emma stood, leash in hand, and together they took a slow, peaceful walk through their neighborhood. Each step was measured, calm, reflective, a small meditation of sorts, a rhythm only they shared. Neighbors waved. Children laughed. The puppy occasionally paused, ears alert, tail flicking, keeping watch over Emma with that same quiet vigilance that had first drawn her attention. But now there was no tension, no fear. Only trust, companionship, and mutual understanding. Reaching the park where their journey had begun, Emma knelt down. We've come a long way, haven't we? She said softly. And I promise, wherever life takes us, we'll face it together. The puppy rested his head in her hands, eyes half closed, content. There was an unspoken bond here, one that could never be broken, one that carried a lesson as old as time. That love, patience, and loyalty could heal hearts, build trust, and transform ordinary days into something extraordinary. Emma rose, the puppy at her side, and together they walked into the evening, hearts aligned, spirits light, and a shared understanding that this was just the beginning of a lifetime of quiet, devoted companionship. As the stars began to appear in the sky, Emma whispered one final thought, carried on the gentle breeze. You're more than a friend, you're family. And family lasts forever. The puppy wagged his tail once, ears flicking, eyes bright as if to agree. And in that perfect, serene moment, Emma understood something deeply and completely. Some bonds are not just felt in the heart. They are felt in the soul. Forever.